Hello, buddy. You're on the SOMART channel. Enjoy watching. Tell us about a case where your school or job introduced a new rule and suffered from it yourself. This was not a rule of the school itself, but of a separate French teacher. She was quite a bitch. She could easily leave you after school for the slightest mistake. For example, for going to the trash can during class to throw out a piece of paper. And she didn't care at all that a student might have a perfectly reasonable reason to leave his desk during class. But here's the joke. One day, she left the classroom during class and accidentally locked the door behind her. When she came back and asked to be let in, none of her classmates had signed up. "I'm sorry, we're not allowed to leave our seats." She had to go after the cleaner, LOL. According to our company's policy, employees are prohibited from drinking alcohol at least 4 hours before work. When the engineers were called in one day over the weekend to fix some urgent problems, they all replied that they had just had a beer, but they were ready to leave in 4 to 5 hours. When I went to kindergarten, during the morning announcements, we were told once, "And please don't throw snowballs at each other. You can accidentally put rocks in them along with the snow." You should have seen the faces of 20-something kindergarten students who just realized, holy shit, you can put rocks in snowballs. Lol, kids are such bastards. We once had a rule that if you violated the school's dress code, you should wear huge gray sweatpants and a sweatshirt with a bright orange inscription NDK, violator of the dress code, all day. Over time, everyone at school began to realize that these clothes were very comfortable, and they began to come across special ones. Then the administration burned down that people were deliberately breaking the rules for the sake of clothes, and replaced the punishment with suspension from school. But even then, they missed. As it turned out, many students don't mind not going to class at all. In the 10th grade, my school introduced a new rule. If you were late for class, i.e., you arrived after the first bell, then you couldn't park in the school parking lot. And it turned out that the students were even more late because they had to drive along the highway to the nearest gas station and walk from there. As a result, 20 or so students were late for the first lesson on purpose and staged a real exodus on the highway. Many parents who tried to leave school were extremely unhappy about this. I love rules with such logic. Oh, are you late for class? Let's make life difficult for you as a punishment so that you'll be even more late. This can only lead to latecomers wondering if it's worth it and just starting to rush home. Zero tolerance for fighting. If you get into a fight, you get kicked out of school, without any proceedings. The school thought that this would lead to the fact that we would no longer have conflicts. But somehow, not so. In practice, this freed the hands of bullies, who could now get to the small ones without fear that someone would stand up for them. After all, no one wanted to start a fight and get kicked out of school. And no one could even turn in the bully, because everyone knew that if you did, you would become his next target and, consequently, risk running into a fight. In general, the rules were shitty. In high school, we had a new rule, according to which for the third lateness, you were left after school. At the same time, the rules on absenteeism have not changed in any way. Result: the number of delays decreased by approximately 52%. The number of absenteeism increased by 83%. Changed. Absenteeism was not punished in any way until social services got involved. 2 generals are going to meet with the emperor. General 1: Listen, what is our punishment for being late to the emperor? General 2: Death. You know, everything is strict with him in this regard. General 1: And what is the punishment for starting an uprising? General 2: Dude, are you kidding? Death, of course. Why do you ask? General 1: Well, we were too late. The scariest thing that really happened. I had a similar story at my old job. In order for the workers not to be late and not delay the bus that took us to the workplace, the management came up with a rule. If you are more than 5 minutes late, you work for free for the first hour. This led to the fact that if someone saw that he was a little late, he immediately went to a cafe near work and quietly had breakfast there at that hour. I'm a programmer. In my previous job, the productivity of teams and progers was measured by how many new features we managed to add to the software. And at some point, we figured out that it's better to split up any work as much as possible so that we get exorbitant numbers in terms of the number of features. For example, if some manager needed the software to produce a specific report, we did separate tasks such as create a button, make the button blue, make the button respond to a click, implement business logic, show results in a table, add sorting the table, etc. In short, we took a task for one day and divided it into 20 tasks per hour. As a result, our management was delighted. Despite the fact that we deliberately slowed ourselves down with bureaucratic red tape, our team turned out to be 20 times more productive than everyone else. In our dorm, if your actions triggered a fire alarm, then you had to read a safety report to the entire floor. The purpose of the rule is to prevent any pranksters from wanting to play with the fire system. What am I talking about? One day, the guy on my floor decided to make cheese sandwiches in the grill. Of course, they burned down and, quite reasonably, stirred up the fire system. After the problem was fixed, the kid thought that he would not have to make a report because the alarm was triggered by a real problem and not by some kind of prank. Of course, he was wrong. The very next Wednesday, the entire floor was assembled and listened to a half-hour report on the dangers associated with grilled cheese sandwiches. There was not a word about fire safety in it. It was about the dangers of cholesterol and the danger of suffocation if you choked on a sandwich. Our head of the dormitory was beside herself with anger, but the kid clarified that the rules he was given were simply to make a safety report. After that, we never had any more reports. In junior high, I went to a private school that had very strict rules about clothes. If you came to school without a belt, you were taken to the principal and he forced you to put on a shoelace. He always had shoelaces in at least 6 colors on his shelf. But over time, this became a peculiar feature, and therefore some people began to come without a belt on purpose in order to grab bright green shoelaces from the director and walk with them. The school where I studied for a while sent out a letter asking everyone not to install the Yeek Yak application, as students are bullied in it. The entire school, including me, a person who didn't know anything about this app, instantly downloaded it and began actively using it. Our school has banned playing bouncers. In response to this move, our physical education teacher came up with a new game called Fireball. The rules are as follows. There are balls in the middle of the gym. The players are divided into 2 teams and run after them. You throw the ball and hit a player on the other team, and he's out. If you catch the ball, you stay in the game. In short, they were basically the same bouncers. What does the school do? Prohibits the fireball. The physical education teacher comes up with a new game, pinball. But it had nothing to do with slot machines. These were bouncers plus a fireball mixed with bowling pins, which also had to be knocked out. Over time, the school stupidly gave up and lifted the ban. 5+ physical education teacher. That year, our school tried very hard to avoid the traditional prank from graduates because the graduates had overdone it a little the year before. Everyone was told not to prank anyone. Otherwise, we would have a lot of problems and blah 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 blah. And then someone came up with a brilliant idea. What if we stir up an anti-prank? This idea quickly spread throughout the school, and very soon everyone knew what needed to be done. The idea was that during the week, all graduates should bring one item, ostensibly to prank graduates, but not use it in any way. The school week starts on Monday. Almost all the graduates showed up for lessons with a banana. At school, we had about approximately 2,600 students, of whom approximately 650 were graduates. Teachers and head teachers see that hundreds of students with bananas are walking through the school corridors, and they are slowly going crazy. At lunch, an announcement was made that if the students did not eat or throw away their bananas, they would be confiscated. In the afternoon, the bananas were taken away from everyone. The next day was even better. The idea was for everyone to bring a healthy gallon bottle of water to class. Everyone did so. And, of course, soon the announcement was made again that the school was afraid that we would do something, so they would have to take the water away from us. But this time the graduates acted more creatively. They hid water in backpacks, avoided teachers in the hallways. In general, everything is necessary to save your bottle. Unfortunately, most of the water was confiscated anyway. Then the most interesting thing is that the whole school started writing about it on social media networks. Mountains of tweets and mentions reached local news channels, TMZ, Ellen, Oprah, and so on. Everyone was talking about our school, and the context is like, the school confiscates water and does not allow children to drink. You're for drought. At the high school, Firework, we are dying, showers help. Well, you get it. And by the end of the day, correspondents from 2 news channels were hanging around our school. Anyway, we had the last laugh. That's the end of it. You can watch our other videos. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye.